Joshua chapter 8. After the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear not, neither be thou faint-hearted. Take all the men of war with thee, and arise, go up to Ai. Behold, I have given into thine hand the king of Ai, and his people, and his city, and his land. And thou shalt do to Ai as to the king thereof, as thou didst unto Jericho, and to the king thereof. Nevertheless, the spoil thereof and the cattle thereof shall you take unto you for a prey. Thou shalt lie in wait against the city on the backside thereof. Then Joshua arose, and all the men of war, to go up against Ai. And Joshua chose out 30,000 strong men and valiant, and sent them away by night. And he commanded them, saying, Behold, ye shall lie in wait against the city on the backside of the city. Go not very far from the city, but be ye all in readiness. And I and all the people that are with me will approach unto the city, and when they shall come out against us, as they did the first time, then we will flee before them. For they will come out after us, till we have brought them out of the city. For they will say, They flee before us as at the first time, so we will flee before them. Then you shall rise up from lying in wait, and destroy the city. For the Lord your God will deliver it into your hand. And when you have taken the city, you shall set it on fire. According to the commandment of the Lord shall ye do. Behold, I have charged you. Joshua then sent them forth, and they went to lie in wait, and abode between Bethel and Ai, and the west of Ai. But Joshua lodged that night among the people. And Joshua rose up early in the morning, and numbered the people, and he and the elders of Israel went up before the people against Ai. Also all the men of war that were with him went up and drew near, and came against the city, and pitched on the north side of Ai. And there was a valley between them and Ai. And he took about 5,000 men, and sent them to lie in wait between Bethel and Ai on the west side of the city. And the people set all the host that was on the north side against the city, and the liers in wait on the west against the city. And Joshua went that same night into the midst of the valley. And when the king of Ai saw it, and the men of the city hasted and rose up early, and went out against Israel to battle, he and all his people at the time appointed before the plain. For he knew not that any lay in wait against him on the backside of the city. Then Joshua and all Israel was beaten before them, fled by the way of wilderness. And all the people of the city were called together to pursue after them. And they pursued after Joshua, and were drawn away out of the city, so that there was not a man left in Ai, nor in Bethel, that went not out after Israel. And they left the city open, and pursued after Israel. Then the Lord said to Joshua, Stretch out the spear that is in thine hand toward Ai, for I will give it unto thy hand. And Joshua stretched out the spear that he had in his hand toward the city. And they that lay in wait arose quickly out of their place, and ran as soon as he had stretched out his hand. And he entered into the city, and took it, and hasted, and set the city on fire. And the men of Ai looked behind them, and saw it, for lo, the smoke of the city ascended up to heaven, and they had no power to flee this way or that. For the people that fled to the wilderness turned their backs upon the pursuers. And Joshua and all Israel saw that they that lay in wait had taken the city, and that the smoke of the city mounted up. Then they turned again, and slew the men of Ai. Also the other issued out of the city against them. So were they in the midst of Israel, these being on one side, and the rest on the other side. And they slew them, so that they let none of them remain nor escape. And the king of Ai took alive, and brought him to Joshua. And when Israel had made an end of slaying all the inhabitants of Ai in the field, that is, in the wilderness where they chased them, and when they were all fallen on the edge of the sword, until they were consumed, all the Israelites returned to Ai, and smote it with the edge of the sword. And all that fell that day, both men and women, were 12,000, even all the men of Ai. For Joshua drew not his hand back again, which he had stretched out with the spear, until he had utterly destroyed all the inhabitants of Ai. Only the cattle and the spoil of this city Israel took for a prey unto themselves. according unto the word of the Lord, which he commanded Joshua. And Joshua burnt Ai, and made it an heap forever, and a wilderness unto this day. And the king of Ai he hanged on a tree unto the evening. And as soon as the sun was down, Joshua commanded that they should take his carcass down from the tree, and cast it at the entering of the gate of the city, and lay thereon a great heap of stones, that remaineth unto this day. Then Joshua built an altar unto the Lord God of Israel in Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded the children of Israel, as it is written in the book of the law of Moses, an altar of whole stone, over which no man had lifted an iron. And they offered thereon burnt offerings unto the Lord, and sacrificed peace offerings. Also he wrote there upon the stones a rehearsal of the law of Moses, which he wrote in the presence of the children of Israel. And all Israel and their elders and officers and the judges stood on this side of the ark and on that side, before the priests of the Levites which bear the ark of the covenant of the Lord, as well as the stranger, as he that is born in the country. Half of them were over against Mount Gerizim, and half of them over against Mount Ebal, as Moses the servant of the Lord had commanded them, that they should bless the children of Israel. Then afterward he read all the words of the law, the blessings and cursings, according to all that is written in the book of the law. There was not a word of all that Moses had commanded, which Joshua read not before all the congregation of Israel, as well before the women and children as the stranger that was conversant among them. Joshua chapter 9. And when all the kings that were beyond the Jordan, in the mountains and in the valleys, and by all the coasts of the great sea over against Lebanon, as the Hittites, the Amorites, the Canaanites, the Perizzites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites heard thereof, they gathered themselves together to fight against Joshua and against Israel with one accord. But the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done unto Jericho and to Ai, and therefore they wrought craftily, for they went and feigned themselves ambassadors, and took old sacks upon their asses, and old bottles of wine, both rent and bound up, and old shoes, and clouted upon their feet. Also the raiment upon them was old, and all their provision of bread was dried and molded. So they came unto Joshua into the host to Gilgal, and said unto him and unto the men of Israel, We be come from a far country. Now therefore make a league with us. Then the men of Israel said unto the Hivites, It may be that thou dwellest among us. How then can we make a league with thee? And they said unto Joshua, We are thy servants. Then Joshua said unto them, Who are ye, and whence come ye? And they answered him, From a very far country thy servants are come. For the name of the Lord thy God we have heard of his fame, and all that he hath done in Egypt, and all that he hath done to the two kings of the Amorites that were beyond the Jordan, to Sihon king of Heshbon, and Og king of Bashan, which were at Ashtaroth. Therefore our elders and all the inhabitants of our country spake to us, saying, Take victuals with you for the journey, and go meet them, and say unto them, We are your servants. Now therefore make a league with us. This our bread we took it hot for us, for victuals out of our houses, the day we departed to come unto you. But now, behold, it is dried, and it is molded. Also these bottles of wine which were filled were new, and lo, they are rent. And these our garments and our shoes are old, by reason of the exceeding great journey. And the men accepted their tale concerning their victuals, and counseled not with the mouth of the Lord. So Joshua made peace with them, and made a league with them, that he would suffer them to live. Also the princes of the congregation swore unto them. But at the end of 3 days, after they had made a league with them, they heard that they were their neighbors, and that they dwell among them. And the children of Israel took their journey, and came unto their cities the 3rd day. And their cities were Gibeon, Sherepha, Beeroth, Kiriath-Jearim. And the children of Israel slew them not, because the princes of the congregation had sworn unto them by the Lord God of Israel. Wherefore all the congregation murmured against the princes. Then all the princes said unto all the congregation, We have sworn unto them by the Lord God of Israel, Now therefore we may not touch them, but this we will do to them, and let them live, lest the wrath be upon us because of the oath which we swore unto them. And the princes said unto them again, Let them live, but they shall be hewers of wood, and draw water unto all the congregation, as the princes appointed them. Joshua then called them, and talked with them, and said, Wherefore have ye beguiled us, saying, We are very far from you, when you dwelt among us? Now therefore ye are accursed, and there shall none of you be freed from being bondmen and hewers of wood, and drawers of water for the house of my God. And they answered Joshua and said, Because it was told thy servants that the Lord thy God had commanded his servant Moses to give you all the land, and to destroy all the inhabitants of the land out of your sight. Therefore we were exceedingly sore afraid of our lives at the presence of you, and have done this thing. And behold now, we are in thine hand. Do as it seemeth good and right in thine eyes to do unto us. Even so did he unto them, and delivered them out of the hand of the children of Israel, that they slew them not. And Joshua appointed them that same day to be hewers of wood, and drawers of water for the congregation, and for the altar of the Lord unto this day, in the place which he should choose. Joshua chapter 10. Now when Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, had heard how Joshua had taken Ai and destroyed it, for as he had done to Jericho and to the king thereof, so he had done to Ai and to the king thereof. And now the inhabitants of Gibeon had made peace with Israel, and were among them. Then they feared exceedingly, for Gibeon was a great city, as one of the royal cities, for it was greater than Ai, and all the men thereof were mighty. Wherefore Adoni-Zedek, king of Jerusalem, sent unto Hoham, king of Hebron, and unto Piram, king of Yarmouth, unto Japhia, king of Lachish, and unto Debir, king of Eglon, saying, Come up unto me, and help me, that we may smite Gibeon, for they have made peace with Joshua, and with the children of Israel. Therefore the 5 kings of the Amorites, the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Yarmouth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon, gathered themselves together and went up, they with all their hosts, and besieged Gibeon, and made war against it. And the men of Gibeon sent unto Joshua, even to the host of Gilgal, saying, Withdraw not thine hand from thy servants. Come up to us quickly, and save us, and help us. For all the kings of the Amorites, which dwell in the mountains, are gathered together against us. So Joshua ascended from Gilgal, he and all the people of war with him, and all the men of might. And the Lord said unto Joshua, Fear them not, for I have given them into thine hand. None of them shall stand against thee. Joshua therefore came unto them suddenly, for he went up from Gilgal all night. And the Lord discomfited them before Israel, and slew them with a great slaughter at Gibeon, and chased them along the way that goeth up to Beth-horon, and smote them to Azekah, and to Makkedah. And as they fled from before Israel, and were in the going down to Beth-horon, the Lord cast down great stones from heaven upon them, until Azekah, and they died. They were more that died with the hailstones, than they whom the children of Israel slew with the sword. Then spake Joshua to the Lord, in the day when the Lord gave the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stay thou in Gibeon, and thou moon in the valley of Aiyalon. And the sun abode, and the moon stood still, until the people avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is not this written in the book of Yashar? So the sun abode in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down for a whole day. And there was no day like that before, nor after it, that the Lord heard the voice of a man, for the Lord fought for Israel. After Joshua returned, and all Israel with him unto the camp to Gilgal. But the 5 kings fled, and were hid in a cave at Makkedah. And it was told Joshua, saying, The 5 kings are found hid in a cave. at Makkedah. Then Joshua said, Roll great stones upon the mouth of the cave, and set men by it for to keep them. But stand ye not still, follow after your enemies, and smite all the hindermost. Suffer them not to enter into their cities, for the Lord your God hath given them into your hand. And when Joshua and the children of Israel had made an end of slaying them with an exceeding great slaughter, till they were consumed, and the rest that remained of them were entered into walled cities, then all the people returned to the camp to Joshua at Makkedah in peace. No man moved his tongue against the children of Israel. After Joshua said, Open the mouth of the cave, and bring out these 5 kings unto me forth from the cave. And they did so, and brought out those 5 kings unto him forth of the cave, even the king of Jerusalem, the king of Hebron, the king of Jarmuth, the king of Lachish, and the king of Eglon. And when they had brought out those kings unto Joshua, Joshua called for all the men of Israel, and said unto the chief men of war which went with him, Come near, set your feet upon the necks of these kings. And they came near, and set their feet upon their necks. And Joshua said unto them, Fear not, nor be faint-hearted, but be strong and of a good courage. For thus will the Lord do to all your enemies against whom you fight. So then Joshua smote them, and slew them, and hanged them on 5 trees. And they hanged still upon the trees until evening. And at the going down of the sun Joshua gave commandment that they should take them down off the trees, and cast them into the cave wherein they had hid. And they laid great stones upon the cave's mouth, which remain unto this day. And that same day Joshua took Makkedah, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof destroyed he with them, and all the souls that were therein, he let none remain. For he did to the king of Makkedah as he had done unto the king of Jericho. Then Joshua went from Makkedah, and all Israel with him, unto Libnah, and fought against Libnah. And the Lord gave it also, and the king thereof, into the hand of Israel. And he smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein. He let none remain in it. For he did unto the king thereof as he had done unto the king of Jericho. And Joshua departed from Libnah, and all Israel with him unto Lachish, and besieged it, and assaulted it. And the Lord gave Lachish unto the hand of Israel, which took it the 2nd day, and smote it with the edge of the sword, and all the souls that were therein, according to all that he had done in Libnah. Then Horam king of Gezer came up to help Lachish, but Joshua smote him and his people until none of his remained. And from Lachish Joshua departed unto Eglon, and all Israel with him. And they besieged it, and assaulted it. And they took it the same day, and smote it with the edge of the sword. And all the souls that were therein he utterly destroyed the same day, according to all that he had done to Lachish. Then Joshua went up from Eglon, and all Israel with him unto Hebron, and they fought against it. And when they had taken it, they smote it with the edge of the sword, and the king thereof, and all the cities thereof, and all the souls that were therein. He left none remaining, according to all as he had done to Eglon, for he destroyed it utterly, and all the souls that were therein. So Joshua returned, and all Israel with him, to Debir, and they fought against it. And when he had taken it, and the king thereof, and all the city thereof, they smote them with the edge of the sword, and utterly destroyed all the souls that were therein. He let none remain. As he did in Hebron, so he did in Debir, and to the king thereof, as he had also done to Libnah, and to the king thereof. So Joshua smote all the hill countries, and the south countries, and the valleys, and the hillsides, and all their kings, and let none remain it, but utterly destroyed every soul, as the Lord God of Israel had commanded. And Joshua smote them from Kadesh Barnea even unto Gaza, and all the country of Goshen, even unto Gibeon. And all these kings and all their lads did Joshua take at one time, because the Lord God of Israel fought for Israel. Afterward Joshua and all Israel with him returned unto the camp in Gilgal.